but with my shoulder length hair, I have to confess I did once or twice hide my headphones under that long hair, and that was about the naughtiest thing I did. I had my little catering hat and my apron on and served bangers and mash to these superstar athletes.
Hello and welcome to the TeacherPod. Let's meet today's guest. Who are you and what do you do?
Hello, I'm Louis Boyd, Mr. Boyd, and I am an English teacher at Chobham and the head of sixth form achievement.
Thank you. Tell us about your background, Louis.
So, as an English teacher, I did most of my growing up in books, I suppose. I geographically grew up in Kent, leafy Tunbridge Wells, which is not notable for very much, other than that it's got a really good music venue called the Forum. And so I suppose I did a lot of my growing up there when not reading books.
Good stuff. And what kind of a student were you at school?
You might be able to predict this. I was a bit of a nerd. I was quite into my studies. I think probably the naughtiest thing I ever did at school, when I was in year 9, you might not believe it now, but I had shoulder length hair. And I can't say that I was especially inspired by my year 9 history teacher. I should probably apologize to him now because boots on the other foot. But with my shoulder length hair, I have to confess I did once or twice hide my headphones under that long hair and listen to, I think it probably was Block Party. I listened to Block Party under my long hair. That was about the naughtiest thing I did. The rest of the time, I loved art. I loved art at school, and we had this rather sort of ramshackle, slightly Hogwartsy tower at school where we got our art room. We got to go up there and do our painting and sculpture and stuff. So I think that was how I channeled my nerdiness. I went and spent most of my time up there. What else did I do? I ran the school newspaper, which was very good fun. I had a really good time doing that. So yeah, I think in summary, I enjoyed school. I had a good time there.
And now, as you said, the shoe is on the other foot and you are in education yourself. Do you now, with sort of that tainted glass, do you look out for students who may be concealing earphones or AirPods now? Because obviously they weren't around, so behind their hair.
I do. It's I think it's more the headscarf rather than the long hair that sometimes you've got to watch out for, right? Not too many students have tried on the hiding it under long hair with me. Maybe they sense a kindred spirit. They know that I would be, I'd be tuned into it. I didn't realize I was so naughty, but now that you get me reflecting on it,
Well, it can't be that naughty in comparison to some of the other teachers that have been interviewed. So I think you're off the hook.
No,
you're okay.
No, it's that classic teacher thing, isn't it? Of desperately trying to look like you were actually really naughty. So I was quiet. I was quiet. Yeah.
What about before Mr. Boyd, the teacher? What job did you have before working in education, or any jobs?
I had a couple of jobs during my university summer holidays. I did quite a lot of catering work, and actually that's how I ended up at Chobham in some ways. One summer of 2012, I worked in the athletes' village for the Olympics, and had my little catering hat and my apron on and served bangers and mash to these superstar athletes. And that was quite an exciting job because we were in the mix of it. Didn't get to see any of the Olympic sports, which was a bit sad, but I did get to meet some of the superstars, Tom Daley, the diver, and there was one particularly memorable morning when the American athletes came in. And obviously all of the people in this room were sort of, incredible Adonis-like figures and top of their sport and all the rest of it. But then LeBron James and Serena Williams walk into this space and just, everyone else's heads, including the gold medal winners from every other discipline, turn and look at these, godlike figures. So that was quite an exciting job. That was pretty good. And then after university, I spent a little bit of time thinking I'd work in art galleries. That was my That was my sort of first career that I explored, and I spent a good time working at Dulwich Picture Gallery down in South London. That was good fun. But I did realise during that time, I'd worked in a school before, and I realised during that time that I wanted to, go back to working with students and working in a school environment, just because, as you know, Mr. Avery, all of the excitement of the place that we work.
Indeed, and that kind of leads us on nicely to our sort of next question, which was, so why did you decide to become a teacher? Why the world of education?
So the short answer is because I failed to get into university. I had a gap year forced on me when I was 18, which for about a month felt like, the floor had been pulled out from underneath me, and it was a complete disaster. And then managed to get a job working in a school as a learning mentor. Just had the most incredible year in lots of ways, and the work that I did there was way more exciting than I could have expected for going and, just talking about English GCSE poems. That, as an 18-year-old, didn't strike me as the most exciting thing in the world. And then I got there and realised how fun it can be working with young people. And then I went to university, spent some time thinking I wouldn't go into teaching, ended up doing another job for, I think they're still called The Challenge. Some students, some teachers might have heard of The Challenge. They were based in London. They basically kind of ran summer camps. So I spent 6 weeks working for them in 2013. At that point, realised really want to go and work in education. The bug hadn't left me after all. And then I applied to do my teacher training, and that led me here.
I just want to, I hope you don't mind, just push you a little bit further, because obviously teachers will be watching this, some of your students and your sixth form students and anybody might be watching, but you said you didn't necessarily get into university first. What kind of happened there, and kind of what went on?
It was weird. It was, as I say, I did quite well at school. I was quite nerdy. I spent a lot of time studying, so it wasn't for a lack of trying. I didn't. This is one that year 13 will now. It's a good thing they've all submitted their personal statements already. I didn't write a very good personal statement. That was one thing that I made a big mistake doing. I fell into that trap of talking a lot about me rather than talking about the subject and why I was inspired by it. I guess the kind of self-interest of an 18-year-old, right? So I made that mistake and didn't write a very good personal statement. And what else? I guess I applied to quite an oversubscribed course. I think English in 2009 was very oversubscribed. It's the kind of psychology of that year. Obviously now psychology is the massively oversubscribed one. But that's an excuse. I didn't put a very good application in. It felt like the first big thing that I think I'd failed in life. And so it was, a bit of a knock to my confidence at first. Now, obviously, I'm very grateful that it worked out in the way it did. I ended up getting into a good English course the next year. The bit of maturing, I guess, I'd done in the year helped, and working in the school, led me to realise I wanted to do what I'm now doing. So things have worked out pretty well, even if at the time it felt like a disaster.
Yeah, it sounds everything pans out and works out in the long run. So for you then, so what does an outstanding student look like to you? And obviously I'm trying to be sort of pushing staff to move away from all of the buzzwords and things, but if in your class, to you, if you're teaching, when you look at somebody, just what does it look like, that outstanding student?
You can see that they're finding it difficult in some way. You can see they're wrestling with big ideas, or they're sort of they're struggling with an idea, trying to get their head around it, chewing it over, mulling it over. That kind of thing is really encouraging to see, because it means they've not just either, all teachers like to have their own ideas repeated back to them. That's lovely, but that doesn't make an outstanding student. That means they've listened, sure, but an outstanding student will not just repeat back to you what you said to them. They'll come up with something new. They'll come up with a fresh take. It's easy in English because we do so much debate, and a student that's willing to get into a debate and maybe even find themselves down one of those cul-de-sacs of debate where they realise they've argued something they don't actually believe, but they've argued it well. That for me is an outstanding student. One who, maybe can I suppose a little bit like me not getting into university, one who can sort of take those knocks and those blows, have their confidence knocked a bit, but then get back up again and have another go at it. I'm trying not to use the buzzword of resilience, but it's kind of what I'm describing, right? And that does make outstanding students, athletes, whatever you want to be, that ability to bounce back. There we go. There's another buzzword.
I mean, I think
it's really important. It's really important.
It is, and I think we obviously we live by those buzzwords as teachers. But I think sometimes I think sort of when you hear it described in the way that you did, it's really powerful to hear that what you is that, rather than just saying resilience, hardworking, committed, teamwork, ethos, all those kind of things. But actually, what does it look like in practice? And I think you just sort of encapsulated it really, really well there.
There's a truth behind the buzzwords. They might be truisms, but there is truth behind them.
And what do you like to do at weekends or in your spare time?
Well, I'm already implied, the thing that led me to be as naughty as a student can be music. I absolutely adore music and have, dedicated lots of my free time to it for the last 2 decades. I play guitar, not very well, but I get a lot of joy from that. And I like listening to music and discovering new bands and new artists, and obviously not at the moment, but in normal times, live music. There's not much beats the joy of a good live concert for me. And if I can spend as many weekends as possible doing that when things return to normal, I'll be a happy bunny.
And you picked up on one of my all-time favourite bands, Block Party, who I fell in love with just sort of pre-university and during university. Anytime I hear any of their songs, it just transports me back to sort of like some really good times.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe our students watching this won't know Block Party. Hopefully some do, but there aren't many bands from 2005 who I would now recommend, but I think Block Party have survived the last 15 years and the ravages of changing fashion, and they're still as cool as they always were. And definitely, if you don't know Block Party, go and watch Block Party, some YouTube videos or some of their live stuff. Yeah, fantastic.
Who inspires you and why?
Ooh, good question. So I'm very inspired by my wife. I have to say that, not just because she's in the background somewhere upstairs, but I mentioned that I wanted to work in art galleries, and she does work in art galleries and does some truly fascinating stuff, working at Gainsborough's house. Again, viewers, if you don't know Gainsborough, go and look up Gainsborough. So I'm very inspired by her commitment to academic research, and it's not the easiest field to work in, but I think she does a fantastic job in it. Who else am I inspired by? I mentioned the importance of books in my life. I'm very inspired by lots of the people that I read, and thinking of writers who've had a particularly profound impact on me. I guess it's people like Zadie Smith. I'm a big fan of Zadie Smith, and some of her essays have really inspired me to look at the world in different ways. I guess that's quite important. And then, lots of musicians as well. I've mentioned the importance of music in my life. People like Tom York, who people might not know from the band Radiohead, but people who do wacky, creative things and make you feel new things and look at the world in different ways.
What's your favourite thing about Chobham Academy?
Ooh, great question. I suppose I've got to say Maureen's Coffees on the 4th floor. Shout out to Maureen. And those coffees you can't get a better coffee in East London, I don't think.
I have to agree. Anytime I have a free period, myself and Mr. Faulkner just tend to slip upstairs and grab a quick coffee. They are brilliant. They keep me going, don't they?
Yeah, maybe Mr. Reese is watching this and I shouldn't say this, but it's the reason I applied for a job in the sixth form team, frankly.
And if you could go back to a 15-year-old Mr. Boyd, what piece of crucial advice would you share with him and why?
well, take the headphones out and cut your hair, I guess. That would probably be the key advice. No, actually, I've said this to sixth formers in the past. I think I took myself quite seriously. Maybe people watching this think I still take myself too seriously, and that is a risk I run, I'm sure. But I think 15-year-old me could have chilled out a bit and learn to roll with the punches a little bit sooner in life. As I say, it was really important that I learned to do that at 18 when I suffered a bit of a knockback not getting into university, and I did get there. But if I'd learned it at 15, and if I'd learned to be a bit more chilled out, that might have helped me in the long run. I like to think I've arrived there now, but as a 15-year-old, I think it's really important that you see things in perspective.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Boyd, and that is the TeacherPod completed. I hope you have a great week, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, hope so. See you soon.